Welcome to today's Explainer, How Stress Affects Your Memory. I am so glad you're here. We're going to dive right into a topic that honestly feels deeply personal and deeply relatable to so many of us, especially as we navigate the heavy demands of everyday life. Have you ever noticed that the busier you get, the fuzzier your memory seems to become? You're absolutely not alone in that. So let's just get comfortable, settle in, and kick things off with a story that might sound incredibly familiar to you.
Meet Michael. Now, for most of his adult life, Michael was known by his friends, his family, and his coworkers as the guy who just remembered everything. I mean, he was the guy who never even needed a notepad. Birthdays? Knew him by heart. Appointments? Always right on time. Phone numbers? He could rattle them off without even glancing at his phone. He'd even remember the names of people he'd met just briefly years ago. His mind was sharp, reliable, and quick. But recently, after passing that milestone of 40 and just dealing with the everyday weight of life, something began to change for him.
It really started with the small, almost insignificant things. One afternoon, Michael walked into his local grocery store with a very short, super simple list in his head. He just needed milk, eggs, and whole grain bread. Simple enough, right? So he grabbed the milk, he picked up the eggs, but then he stopped. He just found himself standing there, quietly, right in the middle of the aisle, listening to the carts rattling past him, trying so hard to remember that third item. He searched his mind, but it just wouldn't come to him. The information was literally gone.
And that frustrating moment in the grocery store wasn't an isolated incident. Later that very same week, a colleague greeted him warmly in the hallway. Michael smiled back, they exchanged pleasantries, but for a few incredibly uncomfortable seconds, he realized he completely blanked on the man's name. Driving home that evening, watching the sun set through his windshield, a quiet, lingering question just kind of formed in his mind. He asked himself, am I just getting older? Or is something else happening here? Could it be that his mind was fundamentally slipping?
Let's move into Section 1, Understanding the Connection, and specifically how stress affects your memory. Let's unpack the science behind that feeling for a minute, because a lot of times, what feels like an inevitable memory decline is actually a stress problem in disguise.
You see, a lot of people naturally assume that every forgotten name, every misplaced set of keys, or every blank stare in the grocery aisle is simply a sign of getting older. And look, while occasional forgetfulness absolutely can be a part of normal aging, there's another massive factor that gets overlooked all the time, and that is prolonged stress. When we're under prolonged stress, our minds become constantly occupied with solving problems, managing heavy responsibilities, and just always preparing for whatever is coming next. That constant, humming mental activity, it's draining. It actively competes for our cognitive resources. So, the crucial point here is this. That constant mental problem-solving competes for one of your brain's most incredibly valuable resources, which is attention. And attention is exactly where memory begins. Think about the last time someone introduced themselves to you, but your mind was a million miles away, maybe worrying about a work deadline or a family issue. You didn't forget their name a minute later because your memory failed. You forgot it because your attention never fully captured it in the first place. Our brains remember things best when we are truly present, and stress, by its very nature, completely pulls us away from the present moment.
Which brings us to Section 2, the mental overload effect, or what happens when we're carrying too much at once.
When our attention is fractured by stress like that, we experience this mental overload. Now, the brain is an incredibly powerful organ, for sure, but it has a strict capacity limit for active, conscious focus. Imagine trying to carry 10 heavy grocery bags at once from your car to your front door. You might manage it for a few steps, but eventually your grip weakens and something is going to slip. Well, the exact same thing happens to us mentally. Work deadlines pushing against you, family responsibilities requiring your care, financial concerns keeping you up at night, health worries, the endless buzzing notifications on our phones. Each one of these asks for a little more of your mental space. Eventually, the mind just becomes completely overloaded. And when that happens, remembering those small, everyday details becomes so much more difficult. The bag drops.
So what do we do about it? Let's talk about Section 3, Practical Renewal, and why recovery actually matters.
The deeply encouraging news here is that your brain isn't asking you to be perfect or to magically eliminate every single source of stress from your life, which, let's be honest, is completely impossible anyway. What it desperately needs is recovery.
Here are a few simple, evidence-informed habits that genuinely help reduce that mental overload. 1. Moments of quiet. Just giving yourself a break from all the noise. 2. Regular protective sleep. 3. Time outdoors. Just stepping into nature. And 4. Peaceful reflection or prayer. Alongside regular exercise and meaningful conversations, these habits create the space you need for clearer thinking. And I really want to emphasize this with you today. Taking time for recovery is not wasted time. It doesn't mean you're being unproductive. It is quite literally the foundation of how your mind stays healthy and sharp.
So, if you've been noticing more everyday forgetfulness, if you kind of relate to Michael standing there in that grocery aisle, I'd love for you to ask yourself a few gentle questions right now. Have I been carrying more stress lately? Am I sleeping well? Am I actually giving myself moments of quiet during the day? Or could it be that I'm just constantly multitasking? Try to identify what's really demanding your attention right now. What small change could you realistically make this week to create just a little more mental space? Because remember, sometimes just one simple habit can make a deeply meaningful difference.
And that leads us to Section 4, Finding Room to Breathe, where we return to our story.
Because finding room to breathe isn't just some nice concept, it's a practice with real, tangible results. A few weeks after that tough drive home, Michael started to notice something shift. Now, he didn't suddenly develop a flawless, superhuman memory overnight, but after making a deliberate choice to take regular walks, aggressively protecting his sleep schedule, and forcing himself to take short, quiet breaks during the workday, things really changed. He felt fundamentally calmer. He felt more focused. He was finally feeling present in his own life again, rather than always living 5 steps ahead in his mind.
And what about the grocery store? Well, on a similar afternoon, he walked back in with another short list. He navigated the aisles, picked up the milk, got the eggs. And this time, he didn't stop and stare blankly into space. He smiled. He grabbed the whole grain bread and remembered every single item long before he even reached the checkout line. And it wasn't because his life had magically become less busy or demanding. It was because he had finally learned that caring for his mind was just as vitally important as caring for everything else on his plate. He finally gave his attention a chance to work.
This brings us to a truth I really hope you'll carry with you today. A healthy memory isn't built by trying harder. It grows stronger when the mind has room to breathe. You just cannot force your brain to remember by sheer willpower if it is suffocating under the weight of chronic stress. Give it the air, the space, and the quiet it needs, and you will be amazed at how it rewards you.
If Michael's story and the lessons in this explainer encouraged you today, please take a quick moment to like this. It really does help more people discover our content here at Renewed After 40. And if you're not already part of our community, please subscribe and join us each week as we continue to explore incredibly practical ways to renew your health, your mind, your faith, your relationships, and your purpose. Also, if you know someone, maybe a friend, a spouse, a coworker, who's been feeling a bit mentally overwhelmed lately, please share this explainer with them. It might be exactly the reassurance they need right now.
I want to thank you for taking this time out of your busy schedule to focus on your own well-being. This is Renewed After 40, helping people over 40 thrive in the second half of life. Until next time, keep renewing your life, one day, one habit, one step at a time. I'll leave you with this final thought to reflect on as you go about the rest of your day. What is one small step you will take today to give your mind some room to breathe? Will you take a 10-minute walk without your phone? Will you prioritize an extra hour of sleep tonight? Whatever it is, take that step. Your mind is waiting for it. Take care of yourself.